Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, may I speak to Ray Duncan, please?
Speaking.
Ray Duncan, how are you, lady?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It's good to see you. I'm wonderful. My old friend Ray Duncan from Nashville, Tennessee. Well, originally from California, but now from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome again to the Lipstick Pickup Podcast, Ray. The new and improved Lipstick Pickup Podcast, Inauguration Day 2025.
Whoopee.
We're going to break it in. It is January the 20th, 2025, and it's Inauguration Day for my brand new and improved Lipstick Pickup Podcast. I've got a new podcast, and Ray's got a new single. So I asked her, and she's been very helpful to me in the past with my podcast, if she would come back and help me swear in my new podcast. And we're going to talk about her new single and her new EP. Thank you for coming back, Ray Duncan.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's good to see you again. It's been a while. I'm going to remind the Lipstick Pickup listeners what we're doing here with our new improved podcast. This podcast is about all things Danelectro Silvertone history, new and old. It's gear talk. It's storytelling. It's music criticism. It's music history. It's commentary. And it's also about artist discovery. And that is how I discovered Ray Duncan here in Nashville in my own backyard. Ray Duncan has a signature guitar, at least on the electric end, which is a Danelectro, Korean-made 98 to 2004, if I remember. And I discovered her online, I believe, on Instagram. We've been connected since November of 2023. Did you know that?
Man, that's crazy how time flies, actually.
One thing I love about the evil metaverse is that you can go and see, since you've been connected. And
Right.
I've been discovering Danelectro, I have a new name, Tone Ambassadors. Whether Danelectro anointed you that or not, you're a Danelectro Tone Ambassador. And I discovered Ray Duncan on Instagram, and then I saw she was playing live at the Fedora Lounge downtown, and I went to see it for myself in the summer. And then I saw her again at Brown's Diner, and I've been keeping up with her recordings because she ran a GoFundMe campaign, and she has recorded an EP since we've become acquainted with each other and taught. And so I asked her to come back on, and let's inaugurate and swear in her new single and also my new podcast. Thank you, Ray Duncan.
Thanks so much for having me. One thing I wanted to say, too, is that I love that since we connected via social media, anytime you've shared a post about me or story about me, I actually get a new follow of someone else who I see is a mutual follower of ours, like very often, and it'll be somebody else who's a fellow Danelectro enthusiast. And I love being interested in a niche thing because it's connected me with you and with other people who are interested in same niche thing. And that is one positive aspect of social media, I will say, is being connected with other Danelectro enthusiasts thanks to your platform.
I appreciate it. It is a niche thing, and you use the perfect word because I like my guitar community on the Lipstick Pickup. It's a nice group.
Yeah.
It has a distinct tone. We're going to get into all that, but thank you for the kind words. It means a lot for you to come back because you've helped me grow as a podcaster. I was just starting out when I did a podcast with you, and I still need work, but back then I needed a lot of work. And I during our 45-minute chat, which is killer, by the way, I'll be reposting it. It's a very good chat, but I ramble sometimes, and I use the word amazing way too much, and I'm trying to get a lot better. But she breaks out her Danelectro, she plays it for me in the amp, and tells me about moving from California to Nashville. She tells me about her mother, Jude Johnstone, and the podcast that they're working on together. She tells me about her mother, Jude Johnstone's own songwriting career, which I didn't know anything about, and I've since learned a lot about. We discussed her record Under the Greenwood Tree, because I told her I really liked its cinematic feel, and she told me about her experience as my dream job, sound designer. Ray has experience as a sound designer, and we talked about it in that chat, and I'm going to republish it. But today she's going to help me break in the new podcast, and I want to thank a couple of people. This is my first episode, but I did post a pilot episode yesterday with a gentleman named Michael Weber, and it's the exact opposite of the chat that you and I are going to have, because it's deep gear. He brings out 7 Danelectro instruments. He knows every bit of them, and he explains a bunch of stuff, and it's a really great chat. It was my pilot episode, and I want to thank him for his time, and I also want to thank him for providing my new theme song. If you listen to the intro, if our listener likes our new intro, the lipstick pickup, Michael Weber provided that to me. He played every instrument on the 23 seconds of music, and every Danelectro that we talked about is on that track. So thank you, Michael Weber. And I want to thank Josh Sheeran, our Nashville neighbor in WeHo, for helping me put it together in something that looks like an animated trailer. And he helped with me with some new design work. So I want to thank Josh Sheeran at the Rheology Club here in Nashville. So we've broken it all in. So I want Ray to tell me about her new record. I participated in the GoFundMe campaign, but it wasn't GoFundMe. Tell me about the organization that you used to fund that record, because it's a good one.
Well, so upon kind of checking a few different platforms, I chose I Fund Women to crowdfund my EP project. And I actually had a separate GoFundMe campaign on actual GoFundMe that I ran the year prior that just enabled me to get into the studio and actually record, thanks to a couple of people's really generous donations. And so I went in and recorded, but so the I Fund Women campaign that I ran last June, for the month of June, was really strictly focused on funding for PR. So the EP had already been fully recorded and mastered and mixed and everything. Mm-hmm. And I just needed some funding to go towards all the costs that are associated with a professional release and the way that I wanted to run this release. So thankfully I was able to get quite a bit from that, which I'm now using to go towards releasing this EP.
I love it. I believe that we originally met through a hashtag or something like that, because you were working on some of the promotional stuff, videos and little photography, and you always have your signature Danelectro. Show it to our listeners and watchers. If you're on Spotify, you are enabled in video, and we're going to let Ray show off her signature guitar.
Well, so this is my ride or die axe when I'm playing electric, which is most of the time now. So as you can see, and you know a lot more about it than I do, so you already kind of said before, but we have the lipstick pickups, we have, the tone, volume, etc. And it came with this beautiful pinup sticker on it, which I instantly saw and just fell in love with. And it's this beautiful seafoam green color. Sorry, I bumped the mic. Yeah. But yeah, this is my ride or die axe, and it's currently my only electric guitar. I have a couple other guitars. I bought it, or rather, my mom bought it. Let's just be transparent. My mom bought it for me when we were at Fanny's House of Music when I was on a trip visiting here, so I didn't even live here yet. This guitar came home with me to California, and then later I brought it back when I drove from California to move here. So it's been with me through a lot.
Bi-coastal. Could I see the headstock? Could you show the Coke bottle headstock? It's so cool, isn't it? It really suits you. You told me it was acquired at Fanny's House of Music when we talked, but I want to ask you, do you remember much about the day that y'all got it? Or
it was it was quite a long time ago. This would have to have been 2017 or 2018. Yeah. Because I moved here in 2019. So it was before I moved, but not super long before I moved. But, yeah.
You told me in our previous podcast that your father has used a Danelectro. Your father is also a songwriter and a musician, a guitar player, and that you had him around the house. He always had him. Or he had at least a few Was that a bias to Danelectro? Is that one reason why you picked that one up, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was definitely raised in a Danelectro loving household. My dad, when he was young and living in Los Angeles in the 80s and playing in bands and solo, he had like a hollow body Danelectro. You recently shared on one of your Instagram stories an exact picture of the Danelectro that he has, and I don't know enough about them to look at it and be able to tell you what the features were, but it had the cutaway kind of on both sides, and it was that tan color with the whole sound hole in the middle. And it was just that really awesome, like kind of small hollow body Danelectro, and it was great for rhythm guitar, but plugged in it sounded awesome. He had that one. He had one of those copper colored Danelectro basses that we used on some recordings at home, and he had a baritone as well. So, and he also had a silver tone with like a amp case. So we had a few really cool things hanging around the house that when he was gone, sometimes I would experiment with as I got older and everything.
That collection that you just described to me, as limited as it is sort of a Danelectro all-star team.
Right, exactly.
Because they're known for their baritone guitar. Yeah. They're known for that bass. It's coveted. The new, the old, great tone, unique tone. Mm-hmm. What else did you mention?
The hollow body, the tan hollow body. Yeah.
One day, if I hit the podcasting big time and the dollars start rolling, I'm going to buy one of those and send it to you, because I'd love to see you playing one of those. The more I learn about that guitar, the more I love it. Michael Weber, who I did on our pilot, described it as a trashy acoustic guitar, and he meant it lovingly. He meant it as compared to other acoustic guitars made out of wood.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But he uses a lot on recordings, and he said something to the fact that you did about its sound. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who've used that guitar, and I love that you grew up with that one. Yeah, when I start, hey, modern Danelectro, send us a convertible, and we need to put it in Ray Duncan's hands. If y'all want sponsorship, I got a sponsorship for you. Hey, Danelectro.com. I mean, they're pumping. One thing I love about this story is it's evergreen, and they are a modern company right now who is pumping out a lot of modern renditions. It's not quite the same as the one that your dad has or had, but they're making them again, and I want one for Ray Duncan. Let's manifest it. Danelectro, I'm calling you. Please send Ray Duncan a convertible. It will be in the right hands. She toggles.
I love this right now.
She toggles between electric and acoustic, and what she needs in the middle is a Danelectro convertible.
What she said.
I love that. So you're a Dano girl. You're the perfect person that I talked to months ago, and you're the perfect person to kick this podcast back off. I know that you are in an undisclosed bunker right now, in which you cannot put a amplifier in, but maybe you could strum a little bit on that, and maybe somebody will have some appreciation that you can actually get some pretty sounds out of this thing without even plugging it in.
I know. And I mean, I wish that I could fit my amp in here, but just, it's great because this is big for a closet, but it's small for anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, hence.
It's a vocal booth.
But I mean, yeah, it is a vocal booth because it's, the sound is.
It's not a closet, it's a vocal booth.
Right. So, yeah. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
That's a lot of sound considering it's not plugged into anything. To our point, I bet you would really love a convertible. Half electric, half acoustic.
I would.
We're going to have to manifest. It sounds beautiful. I know that this EP, Laundromat, how many tracks does it have?
It's a 5-song EP.
I'm excited about it. The single, it's a perfect name. Today is Inauguration Day, and you're going to have to get used to it.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah.
Whether you like my podcast or not, whether you like anything, we're going to have
Or
to
not.
get used to it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I mean,
I love the song. Tell me about the song. Tell me about the composition of the song. Well, I want to tell the listener that if you want to see the song performed live, you can go to YouTube. And I think I just put in Ray Duncan Used to It live or video. And your promotional work is working because it came right up.
great.
I would love the listener to go check it out. I can't remember how long the song is, 4 minutes. Take 4 minutes of your life and go to YouTube, and it's her performing it live in a studio called, what was the name?
It's live at Gnarly Whale. So Gnarly Whale is the studio, and they're here in Nashville, and they've done a lot of really awesome work with independent artists here. They've been featured on, like, I don't want to misname it, but it's like NPR's, not Tiny Desk, but like Top Shelf kind of thing. So they've been featured in like reputable areas online, and they just do a wonderful job. The guy mixing is named Gage Clark. And the person who filmed that video is named Garrett Kiefer, and they both together just made us feel so supported. And it's such a big deal to go in somewhere and feel, actually come out with something that sounds good, that looks good. Like, it's insane. Because the fact that I like how I look in that video, you know what I mean? It's just, It's such a big deal. And I've been doing this for so long, and it's such a big deal when you get something like that, where you've got one shot, you've got one night to kind of like grab this performance that you like. And I was just so thrilled with the results. And it's because they made such a nice container for us, and my band killed it, and we did a good job. So I'm happy about it.
I love learning about it. I immediately went to Google to find out who they are. And these kind of businesses are really useful in Nashville because people need content promoted. And the reason why I wanted to shout out Josh at Rizology is he solved a lot of problems for me. I had the same experience. I needed things to look good and sound good. And I went in to see him, and he ding. And the video is great. I love that you've got a full band there, and another guitar player, an assertive guitar player, is playing some great shredding. And your guitar playing is excellent too. But I love his the way your guitar and your Danelectro and its unique tone, the way they work together in that video. You got a powerful drummer, and anyway, I want the listener to go to YouTube and watch the video because I enjoyed it very much. And if you like to see a Dano in action, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
It suits you, not to be shallow, but like suits you aesthetically too.
Yeah.
You look pretty punk. I like your jacket too.
Oh man, I sort of realized it was so funny, the material stuff like this that's so shallow and hilarious. But when I got that jacket and I put it on, I was like, who knew that the only thing standing in between me and being the person I want to be, being the best version of myself, was this leather jacket. You know what I mean? I know how stupid that is, but I was like, I put it on and I was like, oh my God.
That's the leather jacket. That's the way a leather jacket is supposed to make you feel.
I know, it's so ridiculous, but
it suits you. You look great. You look really sweet, and you sound sweet, and you also kind of sound a little snarly and rocking. I like it. Rocks, and that's why we got to get a Danelectro convertible so she can.
You know what we should have behind us is like a little spiral, like a little hypnotizy, like do 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 do, like just like yeah.
I want one of those Danelectro convertibles so bad. Now I want it more for you than I want it for me. I'm just a collector, and I really love that one.
Well,
we're gonna get it. Okay, people, I need you to go look at the video. It's killer. So tell me about that song, Used to It.
Yeah, so Used to It was. I wrote it in 2019, and I was in a very different place in my life. Sometimes on, my stage banter when I'm doing preamble before the song, I don't like to give a lot of it away of like what it's actually about. I like to let people kind of have their own experience and their own interpretation. But sometimes I'll say, like but I'm better now. I'm better now than when I wrote this, you know, because I'll often get like concerned looks because it's such a, some songs have a transformation, you know, they have a beginning, middle, and an end where at the end it's like you realize that there's like a hopeful note or there's a hopeful resolution. That is not this song. You know, this song is about being so deep at the bottom of a hole in depression or addiction or whatever that you're just at the bottom looking up and you see like a tiny dot that is the sky and it's so far away from you. That's what this song is about. And it's about just not knowing who you would even be without the reality of that, if that makes sense. So like in my case, and I don't want to like mislead anyone, when I say addiction, I specifically was dealing with an addiction to cigarettes and nicotine. You know, wasn't anything worse than that, but it was so disruptive to my life in the way that like, you know, I was like a musician second and a cigarette smoker first. Do you know what I mean? I was a professional consumer of nicotine, and everything about how my day was structured was in service of that addiction. And at some point I got so sick of myself that I was able to push through that. But that all being said, that's what Used to It is about for me, but it can be about anything. It's just about, you know, being so used to disappointing yourself and disappointing the people that love you that you don't know, you can't imagine your life without, you can't imagine a way to break through that cycle, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a good one. They say that addiction to cigarettes is one of the most powerful addictions, so it is an eternal story. And I have known smokers like that. I've had them tell me, you know, later, you know, I smoked like it was my job. Like, I love the song. What was your decision to use that as the first single? Is that your favorite one, or is it emblematic of the EP, or?
It's not that it's really impossible to pick a favorite, honestly, because these are my babies, but it's the hardest, it rocks the hardest, like it's the punchiest. I just thought for a single, it would be putting the best foot forward in terms of like getting people interested in the project as a whole and wanting to keep track of when that comes out. I just think it rocks, and I like, when I looked at the whole body of work, it just made sense to lead with this sort of old school, like rock and roll sound. You know, because from the genre point, a lot of different genres are sort of being touched and drawn from in this project, and Used to It sounds the most like me, I think, out of any of the songs. So
yeah. Well, I love it. Remind me and my listeners again when the EP is released.
So I'm going to be dropping the EP in its entirety on February 1st. And the pre-save link and all of that is live. You can also go check it out. There's a pre-sale button that you can hit on my Bandcamp as well if you want to pay in advance for like a digital download. That's another way you can support me, whatever your preferred platform is. But yeah.
One thing I love about the power of this podcast, and then also putting it on Spotify, is that I can attach a track to this episode, and they can go there, and then I'm in the show notes. I'll put your Bandcamp page and all these other things, and we're going to make it so easy for people to learn about Ray Duncan, and I enjoyed learning about her more today. I told Ray that I wanted to keep this right about 25 minutes, but I always love talking to her. So I didn't get to a topic that I wanted to talk to her about, but that's a reason to have her on again. When we were pre-gaming, I wanted to know her generation's thought on Spotify and streaming potential, good, bad, and she gave me some really articulate stuff, and she knows it because she's lived it, and her mom has an accomplished publishing career, Jude Johnstone, and she knows her mom's experience, and she told me some really great stuff, and that's a teaser because I'm going to make her come back on and tell me her thoughts about Spotify, how we can use it for good things, and, you know, try to work with them and all these other streaming services to make the things that Ray is doing more viable financially, for lack of a better word, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
We want you out there making music. So thank you for coming back. You're the singer, Hail the Chief. Do you know it?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. I've sworn in Ray's new single as on my first new improved Make America podcast again, Make America Tone again. I've sworn in Ray's new single, Used to It. Her record is coming out on February 21st. We're going to have all the good information in the show notes and all that stuff. I can't thank you enough for you helping me swear in. I like to swear things in.
I love it.
Helping me swear in my new podcast. You're going to come back and talk to me about Spotify and other stuff, but I can't thank you enough for your time today. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to edit this thing, and I'm going to put it right on Spotify, and people are going to be able to look at it on their phones within 2 hours. So.
Now that's a fast turnaround.
Hey, we're not playing around in 2025, okay?
Hey, man.
In many ways, it's a great time to be alive, right?
Hey, I mean, I'm all for looking at the good side, of things. Whether we're talking about Spotify or anything else,
I'm about to say goodbye, but first I want to ask, when do you think the next time you'll play with a band? Because I want to see it. Tell me when you'll be playing next.
So happy you asked that. My this is going to be easy to remember because it's the same day as the EP dropping. So I've got a full band show at the Underdog here in Nashville on the 21st of February when that EP is dropping. It's a release show. It's a big deal. I'm trying to pack it out for this show. I've got 2 people opening up artists I really respect in town. I've got Winter Wilson and I've got Sean Cunningham. If you haven't heard them, they're fantastic. Go look them up. Okay. So they're opening for me, and then I'll be playing with my full band at the Underdog. That's a pre-sale ticket link is live, so you can go on my Instagram, and find that. But it's $10 and 21 and over and all that stuff, and it starts at 7 p.m.
I will be there providing adult supervision.
Happy to hear that. Thank you for that.
I still haven't been to the Underdog. I feel like I'm really missing out. That's if I'm in town, I'm going to be there.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
a promise.
Awesome.
And, okay, see your new record on February 21st and see you on February 21st.
Thank you so much.
Thank you from the Lipstick Pickup podcast for coming. All the best, Ray. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
I'm going to hit stop, and then I'm going to say goodbye in person. Thank you to the listener and Ray. Bye.
Bye.
If you hear excellent tone and the sound of birds chirping, it means you've made it through an entire episode of the Lipstick Pickup podcast. You're as free as a bird now, but I hope you'll join me again soon. Comments or questions? I can be reached at emily@thelipstickpickup.com.